Dealing with 2-year breakup and new identity, seeking advice. Hey everyone, I'm seeking some advice here. A bit over a day ago now, my partner of 2 years broke things off with me as I became very complacent in our relationship and have been in a rut/lost in life for quite a while. I didn't have that spark or motivation. The truth is, a lot of women lose a lot of respect for their men when their men go into this season of life. So you need to understand this lesson right now. Pay attention. Don't keep reading the post, right? When you get into a relationship, there will inevitably be a season that you go into where you no longer feel like you have the direction that you once had. How direction in life works as a man is kind of like layers of an onion. This is like your mission, your purpose, your goals. And each layer of our purpose is revealed to us over time. So the first layer can be like school, then it can be college, then we might feel directionless for like 2-3 months till eventually you discovered self-improvement, looks maxing, the gym, and then that becomes like the new obsession, the new big thing. Eventually you've built like a really good physique and then you start feeling directionless. It doesn't drive you the same way and you don't have anything else in your life that's kind of like, giving you this sense of direction, this thing that you needed to obsess over. In those periods of time, trust me when I say, you are so incredibly ugly to your woman. A woman on the outside, like a woman who you're not actually dating, you walk past in the street, can still be attracted to you because it's largely just physical appearance. But a woman that you live with or your girlfriend will lose a lot of respect and attraction for you during these periods where you don't know what you're doing with your life. If there's one thing that women really like in a guy, there's that he has direction, he knows what he wants, he knows where he's going to. Women love that. They love to join a man on the journey of his life, the story, the path that he's laid out for himself. So it's of utmost importance that when you go through periods of directionless, you actually create more distance in the relationship. Nothing toxic or crazy, but just that you don't spend as much time together. You certainly don't live together during this time. She needs to see that you will have this direction, this goal that you're working towards. And unfortunately, most women are not emotionally mature enough to see a man go through the ever-changing layers of his purpose and understand that, oh yeah, for a few months he's not going to discover the next thing that he needs to work on. Most women will judge you heavily for those few months where you haven't got like a clear direction, and then it's very hard to rebuild the respect that a woman's lost off you. So already, this is the advice I'd give. I think this has already happened to him, but if you're watching this and you feel kind of directionless with your life, and also you've got a girl, or maybe in the future you expect that this could happen to you, make sure during those seasons of life you don't stay too close to your girl. I've had this multiple times where I've like lived with a girl when I was going through one of these sort of transition periods from one stage of my life to the next, and the loss of respect because you start living like a boy again. You're looking for direction, you're trying a bunch of new things, but nothing's really working. Even if you're broke, even if you're like an idiot, even if you're like an asshole, women just love being with a guy who has a clear direction. If he says something cringe like, I'm gonna be a rapper, and he starts practicing rapping every day, that's still inspiring to a girl. She still sees the potential, she fantasizes about it. But the guy who says like, oh, I don't know, I'll try and be a rapper, no, it didn't work for me, I'll try this thing, it didn't work, that's not attractive. Like, girls might comment some bullshit below this video, but as always, you don't actually listen to women when it comes to dating advice. You listen to the men who have dated the women, and this is what I would just tell you is make sure you don't reveal this part of you to your woman. Most women can't understand this. When you are in these like directionless rut kind of periods, you got to suffer in silence / with men of your brotherhood. One of the last chapters of the book, The Way of the Superior Man, actually says this as well. It says, rediscover your purpose in solitude or with men, never with a woman. Whenever you feel purposeless, directionless, make sure you stay away from your woman during that time. I might sound toxic or whatever, the one time you don't follow this advice, you're going to pay for it. After talking things through with her and knowing that I need to better myself and to be able to make money doing something I enjoy, I'm trying to start fresh, and I've finally purchased this course, which I've been contemplating for months. The problem is the habits that I found comfort with and enjoy would take up my free time are also the ones that are my problem. Video games and just watching content on YouTube every day. I want to break these habits and do something else. I also know that I should be doing stuff like meditation and working on my business, which I've been building monotonously monotonously a huge drop shipping store on the side of my main job where I work part-time and didn't enjoy either of them. But I just don't find these productive things enjoyable at all and really wish I did. So if you're experiencing the problem of not finding the work enjoyable, that's often a dopamine issue. This is why I'm very strict against doing bad habits like video games, porn, anime, junk food. Because the more fun things you do, the less your work will be fun. The killer advantage in business and in self-growth is to basically have nothing fun in your day other than working, gym, productive habits, because then they become, it's like your bar to feeling fun lowers, and gym becomes the most fun part of your day. Recording videos becomes fun. If you play video games, if you do something stimulating like looking at Instagram reels, you won't enjoy the work as much as the version of you that doesn't do those things. So I've notoriously been very strict against video games, anime. And I've always had a bunch of these like lesser men always disagree with me and say, no, like I'm a little boy and it's fine for me to play 1 hour a day. What they don't realize is, first of all, I'm arguing for them and they're arguing against themselves. So I'm on their side, they're against them, first of all, which is fucking weird. But also second, you've got to understand how dopamine works. When you have a stimulating activity, you get an enjoyment, like a peak of enjoyment, but then you get a trough afterwards. Basically, when you do a fun bad habit, yeah, sure, it feels fun for a moment, like video games and watching content and all this bullshit, right? It feels fun, but then your baseline dopamine goes down afterwards, which means that work becomes more difficult. So if you want to feel motivated to do hard work, to go for this twice a day gym session, to do some hard stuff like meditation, or to read, or to journal, or to work on a business, and you often don't feel like those things are either pleasurable, fun, or motivating, it's because you're most likely frying your dopamine receptors from BS like video games, which are extremely stimulating. If you want to change this, you have to cut out the bad dopamines in your life, that is video games, porn, anime, Instagram, TikTok, all those things. I know that there's going to be things that I may not enjoy, such as reading books and going to the gym at the moment, which I have to just suck up and do anyway. But I'm asking more for advice for stuff to do in my free time after that, where I do something at the end of the day that I enjoy, which is really just gaming and chatting to people at Discord. So this is like the cancer in this guy's life, in Kyle's life. He won't give up his boy psychology. He won't give up the cute little video games that he's clutching onto. When you won't give that up, what that means is the rest of life will not be as enjoyable. So that means that if I recommend you something like, for example, reading, gym, journaling, chess, whatever it is, you won't find it as fun because your barrier to fun has been increased so much because of how stimulating video games are. Notice what he said here as well. There's going to be things that I may not enjoy, such as reading books and going to the gym. And for everyone who's watching this, who's really hard on self-improvements, would actually almost frown at that and be like, but going to the gym is fun. Reading books is actually really fun. Like, these things are so fun if you're not frying your brain. And I get it as well, bro. When I have seasons of my life, like little periods where I've like been on Instagram too much, or I've watched too much bullshit content, or whatever it is, a bad habit I've been doing, then I can't even sit down and read. I don't even enjoy going to the gym. It's just an act of discipline. So I understand and I relate to what Kyle's saying here, that if you are not going to give up your boy psychology, little bad habits, your vices, these things will become so much less enjoyable. And so it's interesting, isn't it? Because you play games, you watch anime, you scroll on Instagram for fun. But when you do those fun things, the amount of fun that you have overall during the day actually goes down, because then everything else is less fun because of how dopamine works. So it's interesting, isn't it? When you chase fun, you end up having less fun in the day because it fucks up your dopamine receptors, and then you basically get the massive dip afterwards. It's kind of like, when you've done something hyper-stimulating and your brain's all like groggy and stuff afterwards, right? If you did none of the bad dopamine habits and you just went to the gym, you went and you were reading books and you journaled and you spent, 2 hours like studying or reading, or another 2 hours watching like an Andrew Huberman podcast, you would actually have more fun overall during the day than the version of you that plays video games. So you need to decide, because it's interesting, isn't it? You need to decide, do you want the fun to come from the healthy habits or the bad habits? When you're stuck in boy psychology, you'll choose the unhealthy habits because it's just faster dopamine, right? It's like, it's just, oh yeah, it's my old habit. This is the thing that I've always done. I've always played some video games. But the smarter version of you, the best version of you, understands that a day where you've woken up early, you've meditated, journaled, went to the gym, spent 2, 3 hours, 4 hours working on a business, 2 hours reading a book, maybe you've prayed, maybe you've engaged in some like these online community platforms, you've went on a little call with someone, like no video games, but you went on like a live call with someone. That day is actually more fun. Like that, the better version of you knows that day is actually more fun than the day where you wake up late, you haven't even brushed your teeth, and you play some video games, and then you watch porn, then you eat some sugar. That day is way more stimulating, but for odd reasons. You actually get like less sort of wholesome fun during the day because of the shame and the guilt and the dopamine trough that occurs after hyper stimulating bad habits. So you need to make a decision right now for Kyle and for everyone else who's watching this. If you want your days to be full of fun and growth, you have to actually give up the fun habits, the bad habits, the video games, anime, this hyper-stimulating content. You have to give that up. It's awkward, isn't it? Because if you wanted fun, you'd pursue the fun habits, but the fun habits actually lower your capacity to feel fun. This is why, and you might not believe me, but think about it practically. This is why every video gamer gets to the point where no game is fun anymore and you're just stuck in a state of boredom. Every guy who's an utter wanker and just faps too much gets into the state where no video, no porn clip feels like good enough anymore, don't they? Like you probably know about like video games just don't feel fun anymore. It's because you keep just burning your dopamine receptors, frying your dopamine receptors. So be careful not to put yourself in that rut, because then it makes it so boring and so hard to commit to the delayed gratification habits, which are often less stimulating in the moment. Kyle goes on to say, the other thing too is that I know deep down with all the people I surround myself with, I will end up being like. And I haven't met anyone in my day-to-day life who does the self-improvement and wants to be properly on the same path. So I don't really have anyone as a close friend either, other than my now ex-partner. I guess that this course can change that through connections too, though. I'm still less than 48 hours out of a 2-year breakup where we have lived together and slept in the same bed every night for ages. Yeah, you know what? I just want to say here, I've been in a very, very similar situation as well. And I remember one of the most heartbreaking moments was after the breakup. I moved back home. And I started crying one day when I was brushing my teeth, because I had brushed my teeth with the same girl basically every morning, every night for like 2 years straight. So the weird feeling of brushing my teeth by myself felt so foreign to me. I remember one time I got my plate of food ready and I brought it to my desk. And I was going to eat it whilst watching some YouTube videos, and I burst into tears because I would usually eat with my girl, even if we would watch something together. And it felt so weird thinking like she's eating her food by herself right now. I'm eating my food by myself. Why are we not together? It made me feel so sad. It sucks, man. And my heart goes out to Kyle, who's going through this. What he's looking for is basically a new identity, a new timetable, a new schedule to keep himself busy after this breakup period. Obviously not going to enjoy anything for a while, but I'm just going to suck it up and go sign up to a new gym tomorrow and start getting up earlier and going to bed earlier and create some better habits. But my real concern is, how do I change what I actually enjoy doing in my non-work time and get out of this mess? Yeah, it's all about dopamine. If this is his biggest question, how do I change what I actually enjoy in my non-work time? Your dopamine receptors are fried from years of video game abuse, porn, sex, and these super stimulating things. You need to go onto a dopamine detox where basically you do none of the fun habits, no bullshit, no 1 hour a day to unwind, any bullshit like that. You just do good habits. That's it. Now, of course, you can mess up. You can have ruts. You can, mess up. Okay, that happens. But you can't allow yourself to do any of the stimulating dopamine habits for a good deal of time. And also when you do this, by the way, you'll also realize you basically never want to quit living like this, because you end up actually having more fun day to day, week to week on a dopamine detox than you do when you're actually frying your dopamine receptors. It's interesting, isn't it? So just be wary of that. I even thought this yesterday. I'm not gonna lie, right? Yesterday I spent like solid hour scrolling fucking Instagram reels. Like at first it felt productive, the educational ones. It was about like MMA. I was looking for a certain tip and stuff. And soon it's just fucking bullshit. I'm bored. I had too much free time, and I ended it feeling proper sluggy and horrible about myself, to the point that I kept on repeating the phrase, which is so sad to say, but the phrase was, I hate my phone. I hate it. I hate this technology bullshit. I honestly hate this stuff. I hate websites. I hate apps. I hate software. I hate all this technology shit where like, those periods of my life where I did a lot less of this kind of technology stuff, of Instagram and all this, I actually was having more fun. It's interesting, isn't it? The periods of your life where you don't do any of these fun, bad habits, you're actually having more fun just by the nature of having really healthy dopamine levels. It's kind of like how, there's always those guys who only eat healthy food, and they seem to enjoy and get pleasure from healthy food more than a fat person gets pleasure from their unhealthy food. Like which person do you want to be? Really answer yourself that question. Do you want to be the person who chases the dopamine stimulation pleasure, who's like the fat guy who's just eating more and more ice cream, who's like the nerd who just keeps playing more and more video games, who's like the geek who just keeps watching more and more anime, who's, I don't know, the fapper who keeps watching more and more fucked up porn? Do you want to be that person, or do you want to be like the still stoic monk who doesn't need outside pleasure and stimulus? Because having been that person before, like the monk, the dopamine detox guy, I can tell you that version of me was so much more fulfilled. I would be walking around with a smile on my face, so happy. And I won't blame you if you struggle to get onto that path, because I did, and I'm struggling to get back onto it, because it is very hard to avoid all this bullshit in the modern day, isn't it? It's like you set an intention to not use your phone as much or your computer as much, and then you just wait, like one random day, 2-3 days later, you've been on technology all day, just switching tabs, opening apps, closing them, checking it again, whatever. These things just have us by the balls. It's really unfortunate, and the worst thing is, not only is it sometimes just low ROI to go on like video games or porn or whatever, but it often actually fries your dopamine receptors to the point that the work feels less fun and motivating as well. So what Kyle needs, and what everyone else who's watching this probably needs, is a dopamine detox, and perhaps not even just like a short-term, 24-hour little cute thing, but just a new lifestyle where you hate dopamine. You hate, that's not scientific, of course, there's still dopamine, but you get my point. You hate like bad dopamine. You know exactly what I mean, right? You hate like this bullshit modern day technology. You hate it. You're waging war against it. You're so fine away from it. You see the foolishness of everyone who's living like a normal person. When you have that kind of identity, it's often easier to stick to such a weird way of living. Let's have a look at what the comments are saying here. Toshung Singh said, "Hey bro, kudos to you for signing up to the gym and trying to set better patterns. Getting out of a long-term relationship is tough, and part of the reason why you want to keep gaming is to replace that void by being in your comfort zone." 100% true. Perhaps it would serve Kyle to just spend some time just sitting around and not even stimulating himself at all right now. The only way to get out of it is by initially forcing yourself to do other things until you break off that old pattern and set up a new habit. Gradually, you will then just feel better like doing it. You will just feel like doing it by default. You can challenge yourself to make that new hobby more interesting during the initial phase. For example, if it is about going to the gym, you can set small goals about being able to lift a certain weight, and you can track yourself over time. Or if you want to forge new connections, you can challenge yourself to have a small talk to someone new in the gym every time you go. Being able to meet these targets will give you a rush and help you in being consistent with this new habit. At some point, this will be your new comfort zone. And Kyle replies and says, thanks for the advice and kind words. I'm going to try and implement talking to at least one new person every time I go to the gym starting today. Juan says, Kyle, you've made the right decision to be here, brother. I've been in your exact position. I've dealt with losing a 4-year relationship, same habits. Although it hurts, it was the greatest thing to happen to me. What's amazing about your position is there is 2 options, better and bitter. My friend, it's clear you chose the better path, and in due time you will be rewarded. I'll send you a DM after this post so we can talk more. I always love seeing stuff like this in my community where the guys start connecting with each other over like a problem they're trying to solve. So yeah, if you want to help Kyle, by the way, you can write a comment on this video and I'll send him the link so he can read it as well. And if you agree with my advice or if you disagree with my advice, you can mention that below as well. There you go. You can join the community with the links in the description. You can subscribe to the channel as well if you want to. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.